Hi guys, I'm just making my quick tier list real quick for patch 9.1. Actually, let's make this a little bit darker, shall we? Like the way this looks a little bit better. All right, so let's start off with Arcane Mage. Arcane Mage got a Kyrian build, which is going to be pretty insane. I'm going to start with ranged DPS, move to melee DPS, and then finish with tanks and then healers. But to begin, Arcane Mage I think is going to be the mage spec this tier. However, I don't think it's S tier. I've played it a little bit. I think it's okay. It's strong. It's really bursty when you need it, which is nice, which makes it almost S tier, but I think this is going to be a strong, solid A tier pick. Let's move on to Boomkins. You got so many nerfs. Starfall is nerfed. You have EO, which is nerfed. It's now 40-second on use. You can't get double on use anymore. Divine Bell will probably scale. Boat got fucking gutted. Excuse my language. So we're going to go ahead and move this. I would almost say C tier, but I'm going to leave it in B tier for now. Let's move on to Marksmanship Hunter. Marksmanship Hunter has gotten buffs. I don't think, to their legendary bow. They've gotten the new quiver. But ultimately, the patch 9.0.5 bug fix really was a nerf. The Wild Spirits bug fix kind of left them in the dirt. I'm gonna say this is going to be a B tier class, probably almost C tier. So we're gonna leave it at that. Sub Rogue, it's trash. It's just not as good as the other specs right now. However, Assassination, I'm very tempted to put this in an S class, but it's a melee spec, which makes me want to bring it back to A. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this is an A class, but with the caveat that it's probably the strongest single target melee class right now. So we're going to leave that there. Survival Hunter, garbage. No more needs to be said about that. Affliction Warlock got pretty much gutted. I think that's probably the C tier Warlock spec for this patch. Demonology, actually lots of buffs. I think it's going to be above Affliction for sure. So I'm going to put this in the B tier. And I think that Destruction Lock, probably an A tier class. Probably up there. It's got great. It's probably the go-to Warlock class for this patch. Lots of buffs. It was already decently strong, but all of the small buffs that have been adding up over the last couple patches really helping it out. I'm going to go with Ellie Shaman next. This is an A tier class, easily. It's hard for me to give an S tier ranking. It really is, because I reserve those for the class that's going to be almost mandatory to bring to raid. But Elemental Shaman, I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but I think it's going to take a lot of the Boomkin spots that were previously in the raid. And I say that because the AoE that Boomkin had, it's pretty much, their Starfall is just Elemental Shaman. It's not as spread, admittedly, but Chain Lightning is fantastic cleave. Earthquake is fantastic cleave. If they're close together, this is going to be your damage spec that you're going to want in your raid. It's got healing, which Boomkin was bringing before, through its ancestral guidance, and they also have just healing totem. They bring a lot. So you know what? I'm gonna leave it in A tier for now. But if it comes down to nothing else in S tier, I think this is the S tier pick. But for now, we're gonna leave it in A tier just because it's good. It's strong. It didn't receive any nerfs this patch. Well, everything else above it did. You know what? No, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna put it in S tier. So this is an S tier class. It's just very, very, very strong right now. Let's move on to Frost Mage. Frost Mage is great. However, Frost Mage has some problems. It's really good sustained cleave, but it's their mobility's lacking. It's not as good as Arcane Mage. I'm going to put it that way. I don't think it's as good as Arcane Mage, so we're going to put it down here. Great sustained cleave, no real burst. I mean, you pretty much have Icy Veins running the entire time, so it's very good consistent damage, but it's not that on-demand burst you're looking for getting through a phase quickly, or execution. Let's move on to Shadow Priest. So, Shadow Priest, I think, is still really good. However, I think the buffs or the nerfs of this patch probably enough to kick this down to A tier. Before it was mandatory. If you look at the world first race, not the world first race, excuse me. The new speed running they've had done in Castle Nathria, almost everyone is bringing the majority of their DPS as Shadow Priests, just because the single target was absolutely bonkers in 9.0. But I think going into 9.5, 9.1, the nerfs have added up. I genuinely think that, their legendary was nerfed, and yeah, that's not the important part of the legendary that was nerfed. It's not the, what people were bringing it for, but that, that's still a little bit of damage off. They nerfed their single target damage. They gave them a little bit more spread cleave, which is nice, but their single target was kind of, I think, the combination of the 4 or 5 nerfs together, it's going to knock this down from a mandatory pick to a really, really good pick. So I'm gonna put this in A tier for now. BM Hunter. It's an interesting spot. Marksman as well, going the Kyrian route. They're going to have the 1 minute cooldown on the resonating arrow, which is strong. However, Beastmaster's been in a bad spot for a while. It really has. I think all the marksman specs have, especially survival. But I'm gonna say, I think it's pretty close to marksman though. I think it's a melee class essentially because the pets are melee melee range, but you have the safety of survival or safety of a range class. I'm gonna keep it here with B. I think it's slightly under marksman. I'll say. I know it's not a popular opinion. I think a lot of people think it's above marksman, but yeah, I think they're very close, very close. Let's go with Fire Mage. The nerfs are gonna make it not a 1 minute cooldown class, no matter how much haste and crit you get, unless you're just insanely lucky. But yeah, I really think this is going to be knocked down to a C tier class. I don't think people are going to be playing Fire Mage this expansion, or this raid tier. They're going to be playing Frost. They're going to be playing Arcane, but I think Fire is kind of doomed right now. Enhancement Shaman, actually, very, very solid class, but it's a melee class. It does really good. It does really good at padding numbers, if I'm being honest, like P1 Sire Nathrius, Mythic Sire Nathrius, where they're just popping off damage. But it has some other problems. It needs some nerfs. It needs better, I think, single target boss damage, or to bring something to the raid since it's a melee class. So I'm gonna leave this. We're gonna put this in C tier. I don't think it's that great. Let's see. What do we want to go with next? Okay, I always forget which one is Vengeance and which one is Havoc. I think this is Havoc, though. So Havoc Demon Hunter, I think, is really solid. But I don't know how... I think it was really good for the Mythic Sire Nathrius fight for the same reason Enhancement Shaman was pretty, good. It was padding its numbers really, really heavily on P1. Fell Rush just diving through the enemy team, just dominating. So we're gonna leave this. The damage is good, but it's still a melee class. It does bring the raid buff, which is necessary, but you only need one of them. And I don't think the damage by itself is good enough to warrant bringing more than one of these. So we're gonna say B tier for this. I just think that's kind of where we're at right now. I would bring one. Definitely would bring one. I don't think I'd bring two. Yeah, I think that's kind of where it's at. Let's go to Feral Druid. The best players are insane. The average player does no damage on this class. I think that's all it needs to be said. Let's go to... do I want to do tanks and healers? I know I've missed some DPS classes. These are the DPS classes I don't play. I had Arms Warrior. I've heard it's okay. Don't think it's great. B tier. Fury Warrior, actually, 2-target cleave is pretty nasty, so I'd say if you're going to bring a melee spec, it's going to be Fury. I would put that in A. Let's see. You know, I gotta really think about him at this point. I believe this is Outlaw Rogue, right? Got Assassination up there, and A, we got Sub and D, but I think Outlaw for... So I think Outlaw and Assassination Rogue probably on par, but for different purposes. If you have a single target fight, you're going to play Assassin Rogue. If you have a multi-target fight, you're going to play Outlaw. I think that's what it comes down to. I think they're both great. I think melee specs are going to be decent in this raid because, you know, you have fights like Health Assad where you have to be brought into that tunnel and do pretty much melee range damage, even for ranged DPS specs. Or the Dream State, I forget what it is. But I think both of these specs are going to be really, really prominent in the race for World First, so I would not be surprised to see those. Well, I don't play DK at all, so I can't even tell you which one is which. I mean, this is definitely Frost, this is definitely Unholy, this is definitely Blood. I honestly think they're all pretty garbage right now. You know, Blood's a tank, so we'll leave that for last. Unholy, I think, is kind of... It's not great. AMZ nerfs hurt it. Its damage is low. It's not great. I think the same for Frost. I'm going to put them together. I think they're both just bad right now. I can't tell you which one's even better than the other one, so I'm just going to leave it there. But what class is this? I have never seen this class. This is Mistweaver. Let's yeah, I don't play Monk, so I think one of these is this Monk? I think this is Monk. I know this is Monk. Where's the third Monk class? Brewmaster. Is this Brewmaster? This is probably Brewmaster. Is that right? Or is that Windwalker? Windwalker, Mistweaver. No. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's really not... Should probably... You know, this is my tier list, okay? These classes don't exist to me. I'm just kidding. Blood DK, I think, is going to be... the only DK you bring, so I think it's better than these two, but I don't think it's great. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think Blood DK is pretty tanky. It has its problems. You know, Sylvanas is a very mobile fight. It's going to be difficult to really get... it's going to be difficult to tank in certain parts, but I think a good Blood DK, you know, can pull it off when they know what they're doing. So I'm going to put this in A tier. I think it's a fine tank spec. I think it's fine. Not too worried about it. I think Bear Tank is literally unkillable. That tank never fucking dies, so we're gonna put that in S tier. I've never seen a tank live as long as a Guardian Druid does, even in the hardest hitting bosses like Sired and Athreus on progression. And that tank has actually only gotten tankier since Sired and Athreus progression when they added the passive 10%. Just don't take more damage. Like it's actually insane how strong that class is. So I think that one's probably going to be seen a lot in a raid tier. It doesn't bring anything, you know. It doesn't bring the Brewmaster buff. It doesn't bring the Vengeance Demon Hunter buff, but it does bring other things. Let me see real quick. Just trying to figure out. Some of these specs I just definitely don't know. This is, I want to say Holy Priest, right? This is Discipline Priest. So I think Holy Priest is good, but it doesn't offer a lot. So I'm going to put Holy Priest in the C tier. Got some buffs. I just don't think it's that great. I think Discipline Priest is better in some situations. I think these two are very even. If you have something that can't be healed, such as where you really need shields, like Hungering Destroyer, right? Miasma Soaks, Discipline is amazing. But if you need that throw put, I think, you know, Holy Priest is just going to be better. I couldn't even tell you what class this is. I have no clue. I think this is Prot Warrior. Prot Warrior is pretty up there. They don't die. Actually, that's interesting. I think Ret Paladin is... I'm just going to put all the tanks in the same class because genuinely I think they pretty much are. Cannot tell you which tank class these are. I don't play tanks, so yeah, I'm just going to put all the tanks in A tier. I think they're all good. I know one of these two specs is really hard to live on if you're not experienced, but I think the best of these specs is going to be fine. I think the same for that. So that leaves us with our healing. Oh, this is a Brewmaster Monk. It's pretty, it's okay. It's not great. I think we're gonna put that down there. It's just kind of, you know. Resto Druid doesn't bring a lot. Lots of good thorough put though, but I'm gonna put that in B tier. Mistweaver Monk, B tier. It's Mistweaver Monk. You know, if you have a PI on it, you have everything else. It's great. If not, it's okay. Resto Shaman, I think, is pretty necessary for most progression teams. Spirit Link Totem is insane. And then Holy Paladin. I'm going to put that down there. Don't think it's great. Actually, alright, I got to rethink the healing rankings. Alright, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Divine Hymnal got buffed. I think this is our final tier list. Anyways, thank you for listening. I know these are probably not the rankings that you might have given, and please let me know in the comments if you would have given something else. Anyways, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and peace out.